Okay, Charles, we are good to go.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Clark. I am a program coordinator with the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Drug and Alcohol. On behalf of the Black History Month Committee, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Today's program will be focused on hair and fashion. So I'm looking forward to an exciting conversation. A few housekeeping rules first. Please mute yourself to avoid feedback and interruption of the speakers. And please do use the chat for all comments and questions that you might have. We will present those questions to the panelists at the end of the program. So with that, I will pass it over to Toika Williams, our Deputy Administrator of Operations and Culture for the Office of Public Health, to give us our welcome. Toika.
Thank you, Charles. Good afternoon, good people. Welcome to the Montgomery County Black History Month program. We are grateful for this opportunity to share Black expression through arts with our county staff and the community we serve. Sharing Black history is sharing our history, a history that is beautifully woven in the fabric of our daily lives. During this month of February, I declare that love is in hair and fashion. And African-American people show up and show out when it comes to this visual expression of who we are, even before a word is spoken. As I researched the history of Black hair and fashion, I came across a few quotes that may set the tone for today's discussion. My hair doesn't need to be fixed. What's broken is society's view of beauty. I have a kinky relationship with my hair. Don't like my hair? Good thing, it's not yours. Fashion can be used as a cultural translator and a tool against colonization. It reestablishes the balance between symbols, stories, and different worlds through style. Fashion is a powerful international megaphone that allows beauty to make a pathway in the viewer. That is a quote by designer Stella Jean. Designer Abrima Urwiya said simply, "What you wear matters. It affects other people. It affects what you put on your heart." These powerful mediums of art, hair, and fashion have influenced cultures throughout the world and remain powerful forms of artistic expression for Black communities. Even today, certain hairstyles are symbols of resistance towards colonialism and systematic oppression. Throughout history, the evolution of African-American fashion reflects the creativity, resilience, and cultural contributions of the Black community. That creativity flowed through Anne Lowe, the first widely recognized Black fashion designer, who designed the ivory silk taffeta wedding dress of Jackie Kennedy. Resilience flows through the multi-talented and logomania influences of street and urban wear designer Daniel Day, better known as Dapper Dan. And it flows through the youngest Black designer who showcased the fashion line at New York Fashion Week. At the age of 10, Karis Rogers created the fashion line Flexing in My Complexion, a clothing line created in response to experiencing colorism and discrimination while she attended school. Hair, as well as fashion, is a source of pride and expression of identity. Historically, the messages through hair and fashion have been bold, a matter of life or death for some. Case in point, cornrows or braided hair were a sign of resistance for slaves who used it as a tool by creating patterns that signified an escape route towards freedom. They also used cornrows to hide bits of gold and rice to survive the journey after they'd escaped. In African societies, hair was a sacred symbol believed to connect people with the divine. Hairstyles could also tell a lot about someone's age, marital status, wealth, and rank in a society. In the 1700s, traders shaved their slaves' heads as a way to erase their cultural identity. This was a dehumanizing act that damaged their connection with their culture. Following emancipation, African Americans continually tried to fit into a culture that was unfamiliar. Sarah Breedlove, better known as Madam C.J. Walker, was the first Black female millionaire who revolutionized the Black hair care industry by making and selling products meant to straighten Black hair. Through her marketing efforts, Madam Walker helped to establish the use of the hot comb as a common practice in African American hair care. Because of her ingenuity, many women and young girls were introduced to the press and curl in their family kitchens. Hair and fashion through the last century has evolved. Let's take a look at the 1920s and 30s, where boyish hairstyles such as short, blunt, wavy bobs and finger waves were in style. Fashion embraced elegant sophistication and self-expression. The flapper dresses and zoot suits were two of the most influential fashions that originated in the Black community. Then we take the 40s and 50s. It inspired Hollywood glamour. Soft, curly hairstyles and updos signified a more elegant spin. The 50s also saw the first sew-in hair weaving hairstyles. By the 60s and 70s, Black power and the civil rights movement became the main influence for hairstyles and fashion. Natural hair was a statement of pride and resistance. Afros became the most popular hairstyle for Black men and women. African-inspired prints, dashikis, and head wraps became symbols of cultural identity and resistance against oppression. And by the 80s and 90s, we had the jerry curls and the asymmetric bobs. We had relaxed hair coming back and women using heat to style their hair. Fashion experienced a significant shift during this time with the emergence of hip-hop culture. Baggy jeans, oversized clothing, athletic wear, crop tops and sneakers, flashy accessories like the bold gold chains and hoop earrings became iconic elements of streetwear. And by the 2010s, micro braids and hair accessories became a huge trend. Natural hairstyles slowly began to resurface as well. Fashion became increasingly diverse with a range of styles, influences, and designers who challenged beauty standards and embraced inclusivity. In our current decade, relaxing hair is no longer the social norm, and curls are highly appreciated by everyone. Women of all ethnicities have returned to their roots by embracing their natural hair. And fashion continues to be a host of individual styles and collective trends taken from various decades. As you can see, there's a lot for the panelists to unpack in this topic. I am excited about this discussion, and I hope you are too. Enjoy and please engage in the conversation.
Thank you for that wonderful welcome, Toika. Next, we have our invocation. Is Reverend Carolyn Cabanis present? Okay, I don't see Reverend Cabanis. Would anyone feel comfortable stepping in and providing our invocation?
I'll pray, Charles. Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go, Juanita.
Okay, let's just close our eyes in reflection. Lord, we come to you right now, thanking you for another opportunity to join together to celebrate the history of Black America and American history. Thank you for those that will serve on our panel today. Thank you for those that will perform. Thank you for everything that you have aligned for this program. We ask that you cover and keep us during this program. Help us to really reflect on all the beauty of hair and fashion, that the beautiful contributions that African Americans have made in the field of hair and fashion. God, give the panelists the information that we want to hear and that we need to hear. Thank you in advance for everything that you have in store for us for this program. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Juanita. That was beautiful. And now, special treat, we will hear from Tiffany Washington, and she will sing Lift Every Voice and sing for us. Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear us just fine? Tiffany, I also go by Christine as my artist name. That's good. 1, 2. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let's resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song. Sing a song. Sing a song. Sing a song of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song. Sing a song. Sing a song. Sing a song of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, thy purple mountain majesty above the fruity plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. We can't hear you. We can see you, but we can't hear the class. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Tiffany Christene. Social media, because you know I have to share it, is Christene. Christene. These are my beautiful friends that sing background vocals, Tonia and Safa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that beautiful harmony. My goodness. Wow. Ooh, I catch my breath. And now we will move our program over to Commissioner Neil Makija for some opening remarks. Commissioner?
Thank you so much for having me. We are just almost 2 months in, but a little under that into this term as commissioners. And I've just been blown away by the staff and the community and really the whole team here in the county. So I'm thrilled to be here, and that was so beautifully done in your remarks as well. I'm just delighted to see the community in so many different parts of the county coming together. So I'm here today to welcome everyone to the third session in our county's annual Black History Month program. And as you have heard, we're here to celebrate the powerful but often overlooked contributions of the Black community in fashion and hair. And as has been said earlier this morning, Black history is American history. And what we do when we recognize it is really tell a story about our country as a whole. And I think what's so important is that we're recognizing people who have gone unrecognized for too long, and we're also recognizing how important particular now hair and fashion have been as powerful symbols of resilience and self-expression that tell the story of the history that the community has been through and that the country has been through. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing our panelists today to talk about how Black hair and fashion originated from a deep foundation in history, tradition, and cultural pride, and how it also has symbolism and activism and social commentary as well as beauty. So I would thank all of you for being here, and thank you to the panelists for putting this together. I'm also thankful to the committee as a whole for this whole series of conversations that you've brought us together to learn, to discuss, and to really share with more members of our community. So thank you all for having me, and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now it is my honor to introduce this week's panelist. First, we have Dr. Kritisha Schley, host of Deeply Rooted, among other things, and Ashley Mingo, designer extraordinaire. So for my panelists, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you're currently doing in the field.
Hello, everyone. I guess I'll go first. My name is Kritisha Schley. It's nice to meet all of you. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and founder of Deeply Rooted Psychological Services. It's a business that's committed to mental health and the well-being of the contemporary Black people, but particular focus with Black women. I have about 15 years in the field. In my dissertation research, I studied the psychological transition to natural hair in young adult African-American women. And that research was pretty groundbreaking at the time in 2013, but it led to a syndicated podcast called Deeply Rooted with Dr. Kritisha. And it kind of has discussions with other women about their experience with natural hair and how it helped with them developing their identity and subsequent empowerment. In my practice, I do individual therapy and psychological evaluations. My areas of focus are relationship dynamics, trauma, stress, and really just to move towards self-actualization. I really want people to not focus on symptoms, but really try to cultivate self-worth, establish boundaries, and align with the deeply rooted values that usually guide people without them knowing. So as of now, I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements, and such as doing mentorship groups, education for medical residents, religious congregations, any kind of collaboration. I also did a therapy guide journal for the Loveland Foundation. So you can go ahead and check that out. But thank you very much for having me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Mingo. I do costume design for film and television. I graduated from Indiana University of Pennsylvania with fashion merchandising. And after that, I went out to LA to go to school for fashion design and costume design for film and TV. Since then, I've been able to work with directors and producers on the East Coast and West Coast. I've designed multiple short films that played in festivals like Sundance, Slam Dance, and other festivals across the nation and the world. I also design music videos, photo shoots, and recently I designed my first feature film called African Giants. It was just bought by a distribution company called Juno Films, and it will be out in the summertime in theaters, and it will be on streaming services in the fall. My most recent project has been a commercial with Paramount TV and MTV for Black History Month. It's on all channels that Paramount owns, and yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm going to dive right in, and this question is for both of our panelists. Who or what inspired you to get into the field, and who inspired you to get into hair and or fashion? We'll start there.
I've always been into fashion since I was little. I didn't know that I wanted to be in film until I was exposed to it. I had an opportunity to intern on a film when I was in high school. So that's how I realized that,
I was about to go see. I hope not. She's with another person. There's two of them walking. That's why when you try to eat these, they're gonna be going bad soon. I've been storing them in my, taking them out.
Naomi?
Please remember to mute your, please
Sorry.
remember to mute. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was exposed to costume design for film and television, so that's how I knew I wanted to do it. And I just held on to that dream. What was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Just what inspired you, who or what inspired you to get into your field?
Oh yes, just the exposure inspired me. It kind of like fell into my lap. I'm very grateful for that, and I just held on to it and, did the work that I needed to do, made sacrifices to, follow my dreams.
When I got into doing the dissertation, that's when I kind of got to the idea, but my mom went natural when I was in college, and I kind of watched her go through that experience and change in some ways. I also had a family member who had a natural hair salon, so I got a chance to see lots of the nuances of it. And I was curious after going through my own transition and struggling mid-college. I thought that there must be something more here. So I really wanted to find out what was going on, because there was a reason why people would start to go natural and then decide to change, or maybe they couldn't make it through. What were those things that impacted them throughout the process, and really understanding like how someone can get to a point where they understand themselves and see themselves differently than they did months ago.
Thank you for that. A follow-up question, Dr. Katisa. For those of us who don't understand, what does going natural mean?
Going natural is a term that's used in the Black community to note that someone has transitioned from using chemical relaxers or mechanical straighteners to naturally allowing your hair to grow outside of its head and keep it in its state, allowing it to be its curly texture, kinky texture, whichever you have, coils, but basically learning how to style and also to live with it. But little did most of us know, it's not easy.
I would love to hear more about that. You said it's not easy.
It's not easy because, if you change your hair, if you change an outfit, if you try something new and you try to step into the world, you're going to be self-conscious. But on top of that, you have another layer of social politics and respectability. And the way that Black people appear has always been impacting their economic development, their future growth. It's always been a barrier to their work. So there's a lot of pressure to wear your hair in straight textures or to use chemical or mechanical straighteners so that you can not stand out as much, not be so offensive, not be so distracting, those kinds of words. And so even though it's a decision that you make and you make on your own, the world gives you a lot of pushback on your choice.
I understand. And so I was saving this question for a little bit later, but your response there reminded me of the Crown Act. Can you explain to us what the Crown Act is and what impact, if any, it's had on discrimination?
Yes, the Crown Act is groundbreaking. It is amazing. It stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. And it focuses on reducing discrimination and prohibiting discrimination fully and federally in the law, in the employment law, et cetera, et cetera. But it's supposed to protect you from hair discrimination for styles such as braids, twists, and locks. The issue is not only do people have concerns about the way that you appear with natural hair, they also have projected ideas onto you. So for instance, in my research, found that people who went natural were accused of having a midlife crisis or having a significant life crisis that they were dealing with. Maybe it meant something about their sexuality. Maybe it meant something about their being militant or their Black identity development. But that research was already present. But in the last decade, Dove did a study where it found that Black women are 1.5 times more likely to be sent home from the workplace because of their hair. And let's also not forget that it's kids that are also being sent home from school because their hair is disruptive because other people are intrigued and ask questions, but somehow the blame is put on the children. The Perception Institute studied and found that majority of Black women feel pressure to straighten their hair to fit in at work, to reduce the amount of questions people have about, well, how'd you do your hair and what did you wash it with, and questions that kind of imply that they don't know what hair is, but they have it on their own head for most of the people. And lastly, there's another study called in the Social Psychology and Political Science journal found that Black women with natural hairstyles are perceived as less professional, less competent, and they're less likely to be called back for an interview. So it really is putting a barrier between people's development, people's growth as a human being, and self-actualization. And it's something like hair, which we don't put a lot of focus on.
Still so far to go. Ms. Mingo, can you tell us about who your fashion icons are?
So I have a lot, but as of recent, my favorite fashion icon, and it's going to sound so cliche because everybody loves her, but lately it's been Beyonce because of the Renaissance tour. I believe that her stylist did an amazing job of first just like capturing the essence of a superstar. Like when she first came out on her scene, she was in gowns, like full length gowns. And it just took you back to a time where singers, artists, entertainers really cared about their look. And I could really appreciate that, just seeing a Black woman just glamorized with soft glam, full gowns, It was like she just came out and everyone was in awe. And then I just like how they transitioned, into club renaissance, the silver, the glitz and glamour. I liked how she took risk. And I also like how she used a lot of Black designers and stylists for all her costume looks. So yeah, she has been my favorite.
You mentioned
And
having some others as well.
yes, so my others stem from the film world, as in costume designers that are like my icons, and that would be Ruth E. Carter. Everyone knows her for Black Panther, but she also has done a lot of amazing biopics for African Americans as well. And Sharon Davis, she is a costume designer for Dreamgirls. She also did The Great Debaters. And another costume designer icon that I have is Michelle Cole. She's on the television side. She did Martin and Live in Color, most recently Blackish, and a bunch of other sitcoms like Bernie Mac. So it's just like all the things that I grew up watching and stuff. I still see her traveling through her life, just still designing stuff that is very relevant now.
Thank you. And for our panelists, what are some of the current hair and fashion trends that might be on the horizon or currently just like a big deal?
There have been a lot of people with like sister locks. There have been a lot of people who are, even if they don't wear their hair naturally, they are trying to step away from chemicals, period. And they might use other techniques of straightening their hair aside from using heat. And so it really protects hair, as well as there's been a lot of research into specific hair care for Black people. And it used to just be, well, there's one shampoo, there's one thing that works for everybody. And now it's very much not that. We're asking questions about what our scalp needs and needs more moisture. And you might need to do more steam so that your scalp is manageable. So there are lots of things about like health, vegan products, trying to basically put in good things in your hair and treat your hair like a crown, protect it in that way.
The trends that I've been seeing and noticing ever since the pandemic is just like how it was stated, the natural hair. I've been seeing people, I don't know if it's because we had so much time to reflect on who we were and like the limited resources that we had during the pandemic, but I've seen a lot of people just be proud of their hair, especially Black men. I don't see any Black men in waves anymore. I don't see waves anymore. All I see is long curly hair twists or they lock them up. They have been very like versatile with their hairstyles, and I can really appreciate that. And also, a lot of Black men are just growing their beards out. Like that's the thing that I realized since the pandemic. Like everyone, all my uncles, my dad, pastors, everybody, they're growing out their beard, and I love it. So it's very different to see now.
You mentioned the guys, the young boys are keeping us together with the waves. They have been doing like wave reveal videos. And so like they get into like big groups and they all come with their wave caps and they do their reveal and everybody's, oh, it's great and it's cute and it's coming back. So I'm loving it. Keep an eye out for it.
Any special tips for the follically challenged, such as Terrence and I? Any way we can keep our scalps healthy? And
one of the things is one of the hair difficulties that Black people have is seborrheic dermatitis, and it happens a lot more in the Black community because of the types of hair products that are out there. So if you are able to, one big note is to keep moisture in your hair. So if you could imagine being in Africa, you might be hot, your scalp may breathe a little bit, but it also may sweat. All of those are things that we might forget being over here and living up north if you are. So just moisture is really good. And even though there's not much up there, you can there's still love and warmth in you caring for your hair or your head.
Thank you. Thank you. I do want to take care of my scalp. You know, Terrence often gets mistaken for Kobe Bryant, and myself, people often say, "Are you LL Cool J?" So we want to make sure our heads look good. So I don't know why y'all laughing so hard.
Not LL.
I misspoke. Maybe they meant Suge Knight, but we just want to make sure our scalps are healthy. So another question that I have, this is pertaining to the salon, the barbershop, the local boutique. We have found that these places are sort of community hubs, news outlets for the Black community. Can you tell us from your experiences what the importance of these institutions are?
Yeah, I love these institutions, and so they are a very big part of growth development. One of the big things is like if you can see another Black person do it, they usually will tell you the story and tell you like what ceilings to break or what barriers you're going to kind of face. But seeing and hearing other people grow and go for their goals also lets the people around them who may not even are interested in it, but just let the people know around them who can overhear that it's possible. And I have to say, there's always been a Black woman who sat in front of me and been like, I did that. And I'm like, I want to be like her. And I follow the goal until I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to make my own. But there are people who can show you that it's possible and that it is effective. And one of the people I wanted to highlight is Dr. Mbala Shaka. She is a DC-based psychologist who is in academia, but she did a research and many research articles about identity and Black natural hair and what that means. And she started a school for hairstylists. It's called Psychotherapy, and it teaches stylists some basic mental health 101 tips so that they can be and feel more empowered in that role, and they can feel like they have some tips on what to do if people come to them with like big concerns or worries or anything like that. So her name is Mbala Shaka, and you can find her at social or psychotherapy. There it is, psychotherapy.
For me, I'm not a hairstylist or a beautician, but I can say that I really appreciate hair salons and barbershops and Black-owned boutiques, just because hair salon and barbershops, that's like a maven for women. I mean, a safe haven for women and men. I feel like that's the time where we can just, no pun intended, but let our hair down, connect with each other. Barbershops and hair salons shows you how, we care for each other. You want to give your client your best, so you're washing their hair like softly or tender, however they want it. You're relaxing them. Now at barbershops, they use a steamer for men. They give you massages now. So it's just like really, I feel like it's like a love story for the Black community. You can go there, they're going to get you together, you're going to have a good experience, and you're just going to be able to talk and share things that you probably wouldn't share with other people. But since you built that bond with the store owner or the barber or the hairdresser, you can just be free to talk how y'all talk. And it's a good thing to have.
Thank you.
When they
Go
break out.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I love when they break out in song. One of my the group of people close to my hairstylist, they all just start singing. They all put music on. They don't care who's in the chair. Everybody's singing. And sometimes you have art and pictures and things around the room that are very validating and very encouraging, and you feel a sense of warmth. Like I can let down guards, even if I didn't even know that there were guards up. I feel much more relaxed than I came in.
What do you think the role of Black hair and fashion has been on American culture as a whole? What impact has it had, I should say?
It has significantly impacted, surprisingly enough, aside from the Black community, it's helped a lot of people with curly hair and other races or cultures accept their hair. My podcast has two of the biggest locations that or listenerships is one is in Germany and another one is in India. And those are the two big areas, and they're super focused on natural hair, but there are other like cultures who note, it's very difficult to be this and have dark skin and dark hair or hair that's curly or considered to be unruly. And so our liberation is helping other people feel liberated. It's the curly girl wave now, not just the natural hair wave.
I believe that fashion and hair has a big impact, like she said, in America and just across the world. I feel like fashion and hair, like what you see, breaks language barriers. So people like they can adopt the fashion or our hairstyles in China and England, all over. Like, it's something that travels without having to be said. And then it just helps us tell our stories. And that's really big for people, just to be able to express yourself with fashion, with your hairstyle. I feel like it says a lot without having to say it, It's how you read people, it's how you read their circumstances. It's how you like figure out where they're from, figure out sometimes what they can afford, what they can't afford. You just figure out who they are before you even talk to them. It's like a first impression thing.
And Ashley, you mentioned Beyonce, and she just had that drop of the hair, and like she had the essence and the all kinds of cute hairstyles, and that even is a journey in and of itself. Like the music, the fashion, now the hair, and then the other side of Beyonce and country. Don't get me started about her, but yes,
It's all
huge.
connected.
Yes.
And my final question for both of you, before we turn it over to the Zoom, what advice would you give a young boy, or young girl who wants to get into the business of hair, costume design, fashion, what have you? What advice would you give them?
My advice for anyone that wants to get into costume design or fashion is that you have to come in there being yourself, and you have to come in there being kind, and you have to have some thick skin. The entertainment world, it looks glamorous, but it's really, really not. It's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of sacrifice. So you have to know what you're there for, and you have to know how to do your job. You have to know how to treat people right. And you also have to have the talent part, but at the core, you just really have to be a good person. You have to take risks. You're going to have some lonely times. You're going to have time to wait for your family. But it's just it's all what it takes to get the job done. So yeah, you just have to bet on yourself and be a hard worker, and always network, always treat people kind. This industry is word of mouth. So you want people to want to work with you. You don't want to have any bad experiences. So yeah, one of my takeaways is just to always be kind and have a hard work ethic and always be willing to learn and ask questions. The worst thing you can get is a no.
Thank you very much. And before I turn the questions over to our audience, we have been joined by Reverend Cavanis, who would like to say a few words. So I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Cavanis.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for this important conversation as we talk about about health, hair and fashion. I'm actually in the middle of a conversation about faith and health and gardening. And so let us just also want to take a moment of reflection also about the value and how we appreciate ourselves and the ways in which that we have been created and formed, the ways in which that we proudly adorn who we are, and doing that in a way that is unapologetic, in a way that we affirm, in a way that we appreciate, and also the way in which that we show collective witness of who we are and how we express ourselves. And in the sense of the world in which we're living, where folks are looking for belonging, a sense of value, a sense of appreciation, during this month, and it should not only be relegated to this month, but every day, how are we finding ways in which to appreciate and celebrate the many manifestations of goodness and kindness, and also just how amazingly we've all been created and brought together. And so thank you for this space, and thank you for what has been shared, and also how we will live this out as we continue forward and walking in the great tradition, and also being proud about being who we are. So thank you for this, Charles. Thank you, Terrence.
Thank you, Reverend Cavanis. So now I'm going to ask some questions from the chat here. I am sorry if I skip anything. I'm trying to circle all the way back up. But the first one I see is, how should we wash Black hair properly?
Black hair and washing it properly is a individual thing. The more that I understand about natural hair, and again, I'm not a stylist, but the more that I understand, the more it's like a individual thing. So what is your scalp doing? What does your hair need? And it's really about knowing what your hair is made of and what the texture is on various parts. So for most people, they don't know that on a hair, on a head, you might have 2 or 3 different types of hair textures. Might be a different texture in the back than it is in the front. And so those are the things that make the nuances and kind of give you the nuances to kind of work around when you're talking about cleaning your scalp or your hair. Some people need to clean their scalp all the time. Some people need to wait a month to wash their hair as opposed to others. So it really is about knowing yourself and your hair and then finding the right system for that. And unfortunately, there isn't a universal system that's been working for everybody. So it's kind of go vegan and notice when your favorite brands sell the company to a larger conglomerate, because all of the ingredients change.
Thank you. And Ashley, can you talk more about the journey in the fashion industry, costume design, the current challenges you're facing or have faced, and how you've kind of persevered through that?
Okay. So my journey, I'm bi-coastal, so I live in Philly right now and I work out in LA. So I started once I graduated from my costume design program at FITM out in LA. I partnered with directors and producers from AFI, American Film Institute. It's one of the best film institutes in America. And we started doing short films, and our short films started going to, film festivals, and some of them won a lot of film festivals. And then when I was home, I would work on costume departments on major films. So I would take care of like the background actors. I would dress all the background actors. I'll be behind a monitor, or I'll just be, just assisting everyone in the costume department. So it's like I kind of like lived the best of both worlds. In LA, I was like the head of my department as a designer. But on the East Coast, I was able to learn different functionalities in the costume department. So my journey is kind of like it bounces back and forth. My current, I don't have any current challenges now. My career has been, smooth sailing. I just did a feature, and as I stated before, it's been bought and it's going to go to streaming services and come out in theaters. So that's like a big accomplishment. But last year, the industry went on strike. There was an actor strike and the writer strike. And I had just got into my union as a costume designer. So that it crushed me a lot because I had to do tailoring from, I want to say, when the strike started all the way until December, because there really wasn't any jobs. So I spent majority of my time just being a tailor, and it was kind of, it was overwhelming to have to do that after, just experiencing this high of getting into the union. It was like, I just was super happy, and then I was dropped, and I just had to do what I had to do to, maintain. So that's one of the things with this industry. Like, it just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So you always have to have a backup plan. So yeah, that's one thing I learned that was a hard challenge for me.
Thank you. Another question here. Toyka blessed us with a very thorough timeline of how Black hairstyles have evolved. Do you see it continuing to evolve, or do you think we've settled into the natural movement?
I think the farther we go into the natural movement, when people get to the end and realize how important it is for you to be authentic and be yourself, I think that most people have been leaning towards allowing all people to have all of their own choices, and to express their hair or themselves however they want to. And some people wear their hair naturally and go back and forth. Some people change their hair all the time. But in my research, I found that the further along people go in their natural hair transition, and they had to have been natural for at least, 8 years, or 2 years, something like that. Anyway, the point is that by the time you get done, you realize the importance of being yourself and identity development and what you get along the process. Not just how you look when you end, but what you get when you get to the end of the process.
Thank you. And for Ashley, can you tell us the best and worst experiences in your industry for yourself?
I'm just going to group the best together. My best experiences is just being with people, learning about people. I meet so many different actors and stuff. And as a costume designer or someone in the costume department, you have to tend to them. I don't know why, but dealing with clothes, actors are in like their most vulnerable state. So it's a certain way you have to talk to them. It's a certain way that you have to learn them and make them comfortable, because some actors aren't comfortable with what they're wearing. Some actors aren't confident in their size and things like that. So this is like a whole world that comes with it to make an actor comfortable in what they're wearing. It's kind of like I'm a therapist on the side for them, just trying to like motivate them to, feel comfortable in who they are or who their character is. So yeah, it's just learning people and just building that trust with people, and being that buffer for them. And my worst experience, probably would have to be when I was working on a film in North Jersey. I had two positions on the costume department. I was a costume PA. That means I was just assisting anyone in the costume department. And I was also the costume department's coordinator. So I handled like all the business part too. So I was like reconciling our 4 credit cards that we had every week, taking care of returns, just making sure everything was where it's supposed to be in our department. It was a lot of work. So that was like probably the worst experience, because I was by myself most of the time doing a lot of things. I think I returned over like $40,000 of our budget by myself. So it was a lot of crazy things that I was doing. So yeah, that was probably the worst experience that I had. I learned a lot and I realized that I could do a lot on my own, but I'll probably never take 2 positions like that again if I don't have to. It was a lot.
Thank you. So our next question has to do with children in childcare who take naps, and when they awake, maybe their hair clips are loosened. Is there a way to teach folks how to help them fix their hair so that they feel good after they wake up?
I think that's a great idea. There are a lot of people out there, social media considered influencers, who speak about this and give tips about what to do with natural hair, also education classes on braiding and understanding. I think the biggest thing would probably be for all of the teachers or people who are in early childhood education to talk to the parents, have bonnets on hand. That's great. That's a great idea. And honestly, if you have a teacher or somebody in early childhood education who gives that kind of care to a child's hair for that reason, making sure that they feel good about themselves, that has empowered many, many children to try and wear their own hair natural. It's caused conversations. There's an episode, season 1 of my first podcast, which is Wash Day with Dr. Kratisa. It is interview with Kim. She works with children, and it's a child-centered episode where she talks about her experiences being one of those educators, and early childhood educators, and kind of doing that work and what it means to her, as well as the kids who get it.
Thank you. And another question for you, Dr. Kratisa, is what do you advise mothers or fathers who are thinking about relaxing a child's natural hair? Do you have those kind of conversations in your practice?
I don't actually have those kind of conversations in my practice. Usually the conversations about hair is usually in the workplace, or I'll note it as like hey, you're stressed out. And also like, how does it feel? I haven't seen your hair like I normally would in the last couple of weeks, or something like that. Very organic, non-judgmental. But I would ask the parents how or why they want to have their child's hair relaxed in the first place. Some parents teach their kids about how to protect themselves from the world. So that's kind of like a preemptive thing. Parents like this may end up telling their kid, okay, well, your natural hair might get you a lot of negativity, or you might experience these things. And so let's just avoid that by getting your hair straightened and all of that. But it's that is a generational concern that does not have to be intergenerational. So you can keep the fear that you had and got you through wherever your adult life and got you to this point is good for you. But the current social dynamic and the current social setting, not that it's any better, but it's not as fear inducing. I would say after 2021, we were just talking about what 2020 did to people. And after 2020, people started to just step out like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be myself. And everybody's just going to have to accommodate. I'm either going to quit this job or you're going to accept me how I'm at or where I'm at. And so you don't have to run away or cut yourself down to get where you think you want to go. And most parents who do it, or most parents who want to do it, are doing so because they want their child to have the best opportunities to get farther. But anecdotally, that generation was our generation. We got in the door, we realized we're in the door, we're at the table, sitting at the table, it's not that great. And then 2020 happens. Just go be yourself, go do what you want. Ask people to stand in front of you and tell you why you can't be yourself. Don't shift before they get to tell you you have to shift. So Crown Act, if you don't have it in your state, and you can find it on the crownact.org, but if you don't have it in your state, one of the best ways to resist is to wear your natural hair, to be your authentic self. And liberation, for me, in my opinion, means having the opportunity to actually self-actualize so that you can be and raise up to a different level of consciousness, not just focusing on surviving.
Right on. Thank you. Ashley, do you only work with Black costume designers or?
No. So when I work in LA, I work by myself, so I'm just, with myself. But on the East Coast in the tri-state, no, I work with all different races on this side. But majority of the stories that I tell are African American stories, are Black stories. And most of the people on set too, I don't work with all the sets are like mixed races and things like that. So yeah, I work with everyone, but most of my stories are Black stories.
And of the different industries that you've worked in, which would you say you've learned the most from? And do you prefer any over the others?
The film industry. Because the process is so rich. My process is I get a script. It can be 10 pages, it can be over 100 pages, but I have to read through all of that. I have to learn the characters. I have to count how many characters there are. I have to count how many times the character changes. I have to count all the scenes. And then after I do that, I have to do a bunch of research, the time period of the area that the film is set. And then I just start designing characters by, what they say in the script, or just by what I just create in my head from reading it. And that's my favorite part, designing them, making mood boards, talking to the production designer about color palettes so that everything could be cohesive and nothing is clashing. And also talking to the director. I have great relationships with most of the directors that I work with, which I'm really blessed to have. So we go back and forth about different things. I have outrageous ideas. Sometimes they have to reel me in. And sometimes I have to fight for my ideas because I just feel like that's right for the character. So it's just a fun experience. And just being on set with people, it's just like, I just keep saying it because it really is a fun experience. It's a lot of work, but it's just like we're playing a tense game of make-believe. So it's just very enjoyable. And it's just fun to create something out of nothing.
This is a sidebar, but Ashley, I love to see your smile and your excitement about when you talk about your field. You're glowing.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, Jones are definitely my favorite.
Another question from the Zoom. Have either of you experienced hair discrimination in your careers, and what happened? How did you deal with it?
I haven't. The entertainment industry is crazy. People show up looking any type of way that they feel comfortable looking. So yeah, they don't say too much about me. I change up my hairstyle a lot. But yeah, I never got any discrimination. Everyone was welcoming. But I feel like that's just because of the industry that I'm in. We have to be welcoming. So yeah, I haven't had any.
I had a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot of it in working out there, working in the world, corporate America, or whatever you want to call it, bureaucracy. Usually it shows up in having me explain what's happening with my hair, or having other people come and tell me something about someone else's hair on staff. And one of the things that is my gift and a curse is that people feel very comfortable coming to talk to me. And so some of the things that they may not ask other people, they may ask me. And part of that is it's very othering. And so somebody asked the question about what the experience is like for having somebody ask to touch your hair. I feel like that's around enough that like everyone should know not to touch someone else's hair without permission. Don't even ask to touch, because at this point you don't know what this person has been through. You don't know if you're going to be offensive or not. Just stay away. And if you have questions, it's a great thing now. I say ask ChatGPT. You can ask it in your language. You can ask it in your vernacular. You can ask follow-up questions. You can ask for stats and research articles and all of that stuff. All right there. And there's no reason why anybody has to ask another Black person another question. It's just too much writing out there, and too much also videos. I'm a watcher of the YouTube. So YouTube also has YouTube University for people that want to learn.
I love that, ChatGPT. Is there an added pressure economically to go natural versus following the hair trends?
Yeah, for sure. There are certain clients that I will get. I'll get people who are a little bit more spiritual. I'll get people try to come work with me. People who are maybe from down south, or they have been in a family that has like spiritual gifts, or maybe they have done root work. Basically, like your family and your ancestors have given you a gift. Usually I find those people coming to me because they assume that I'm going to be welcoming, and what I'm not going to do is be judgy. But the corporate America is coming around to more speakers with natural hair and who are speaking about Black liberation. But if there was an area of deficit, it would be there for sure.
Thank you.
Just because of the financial pressure, you have, strings attached.
Ashley, question for you. What type of clothing do you make? Is it only costumes?
Well, no, I make like ready to wear clothes for people. So if I have clients and they want like a gown, I can make a gown. I made suits before, shirts, dresses. Yeah, I do it all. I learned how to do that in school out in LA. I went to FITM, and a prerequisite for the costume design program was fashion design. So I had to learn how to do all of that before I got into my other program. So yeah, I make it all.
And just a question personally, do you have any tips for people who purchase maybe large size t-shirts for extra large men? I'm
Sorry,
just kidding. I'm playing with my panel with the committee right now. Can you talk about, no, I'm skipping that question. I'm sorry. I think you addressed it already, the urge to touch black hair, and that was a no-no. So the next question is, what kind of hair do black people have?
It's a different texture. It's still hair. It still does all of the, it still has the hair properties, but it has much more versatile properties than typically straight hair. And so it can be curly and coily, it can be straight, it can stand up and defy gravity, it can bounce and flow, but it is still hair. So if you can imagine maybe 5 people with different hair, all of that in one for a black person. Just smash them all in there, all the texture. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Like that's the easiest non-offensive way to describe that.
Before we do hop off, I'm going to ask both of you to put your contact information in the chat. Maybe you have a website or a link to your podcast, because I think that people would be interested to hear and see more. Another question from the chat. Someone asked why young black girls often have their hair in braids, barrettes, or beads.
Thanks for that, Charles. And I ask because I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I love her hair when it's in braids, barrettes, or beads. But I think someone from another culture didn't understand why, and I'm sure there's women on the call or people on the call who can probably touch on that. I personally, I see it fitting for her age and her, of where she's at. And I've always felt like, kids are kids, and maturity wise, that's where I felt was, I talked to my wife about it as well and asked her the same question, but I always felt that we're not in a rush to have our daughters grow up, to be what they're not, because they're children. So I don't know if someone else on the call had a perspective around it, but and also she has to do it every day. So best believe it can be a lot. So if anybody had some insight on that, it was a question that someone from another culture asked me, really not understanding why.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Who was that?
I feel it's borderline intrusive. And also, other people are not asked the questions that we're asked. Sorry, I'm on 2 different things. Yeah, even in elementary school, there was a there was even some inappropriateness from elementary school students. So to me, it seems like an innocent question, but it's borderline unnecessary and almost indirectly trying to make someone feel less than. It's like, well, why aren't those questions asked of other people? If I can change my hair multiple times, and I did when I was little, and I still do, then that's my prerogative. And I knew that in elementary school. So, sometimes things are jealousy or envy, but it's wrapped in an insult. But I could recognize that when I was little. No apologies. Yeah, your little girls can do whatever they want to, whatever's convenient for the parents, whatever makes them feel good, whatever makes them feel diverse. If you can do your hair to defy gravity, if you can wear it straight or an afro, that's your prerogative. And other people have relaxers too. It's just that they're relaxers to be curly instead of straight. That's everyone's prerogative, period. Okay, done.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, just for the sake of memory lane. Can you name some current fashion trends that you noticed returning from the past? And the same applies with hair.
Yes. So I'm a millennial, and I think under me is Gen Z. And I feel like now, like the Y2K style is coming back for them. They're wearing like the baggy cargos, or like their jeans are at their hip now. They're wearing like bandanas, knitted bandanas, or just like the regular woven one. Um, Different sneakers, like they have hair clips and stuff now from like the early 2000s. It's just, I don't know, it's really cute. I like it. And it's refreshing to see because the early 2000s, everybody had their own identity. And that's what I'm seeing Gen Z pick up is just their own identity and style. So I really enjoy seeing that over again.
Dr. Kratisa, same question for you.
Styles coming back. I love the velvet velour with the print on the booty are coming back. They lots of TWAs are coming back. So teeny weeny afros. Lots of people are not afraid to shave their head, get bright colors, and get, women shaving their hair for preference, not for necessity. I really do love the colors, like it's all orange, it's red, it's blue, it's green. It is all about expressing your mood. And I love that. And I am here for the 2000s with the parachute pants and I'm waiting for the triangle tops to come back. But yes, I'm here for honestly Beyonce. I'm here to see what her like release does to the rest of the culture, because I mean the economic impact she had on, listen, whatever. It was just a lot. It is a lot. And her and Jay-Z have been dropping hints for years and dropping breadcrumbs, and they're like, come on, we on our way this way. And where this way is authenticity. Come on, come with us. Ooh, the French roll. My 5th grade, I remember asking my mom, she said, how do you want your hair for your 5th grade? First day. I asked her for a French roll in the back with a twisted bang that was just kind of like a little coil. And when I tell you I had the edges and the little curls on the side, you couldn't tell me nothing. I tried to wear it for 6th grade, it didn't work, but 5th grade was lit.
All right. Well, do we have any additional questions from the Zoom audience? No? Okay. Well, I suppose this concludes our program for today. And again, on behalf of the Black History Month Committee, I want to thank you for joining us, especially our esteemed panelists. You brought so much to this program. We feel better for being here with you. A few notes for our remaining events. Next week will be our in-person event held here at the Human Services Center, located at 1403 DeKalb Street, Northtown. There will be live performances, food, networking opportunities, and just a lot of fun. At this event, we will be honoring one of our previous panelists, Dr. Brent Woods, for his community services. So you do not have to register. The event begins at, God, I'm going to mess this up, 11:30 on the 28th. Yes. So I hope to see you all there. Otherwise, we thank you again for joining and have a blessed day.
Is it 11:30 or 11 o'clock? I for some reason I'm thinking 11 o'clock.
It's 11:30.
Okay. It's 11:30?
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you.